The intermediate Profound Class 2 students no longer had any doubt. The other students immediately panicked. Then, Boss Qing Luo, what should we do? Before they unite, snatch more magic crystals. Yi Qing Luo replied. But the various academies are working together to snatch our magic crystals. The intermediate Profound Class 2 students were extremely worried. Yi Qing Luo smiled indifferently. I am guarding the space pocket, no one can snatch it. Where did his confidence come from? The students' gazes all fell onto Yi Qing Luo. When he saw that pair of enchanting eyes that were suffused with a cold light, he felt a chill run down his spine. Their hearts tightened. Fine, they admit it. Other than Yi Qing Luo, there was indeed no one else who could guard the space pocket. All right, continue to split up. Yi Qing Luo saw that everyone had almost finished their rations and waved her hand as she gave the order. The students mourned. But upon recalling what Yi Qing Luo said earlier, Chapter 1593, things were indeed as Yi Qing Luo had predicted. Over 10 academies, after experiencing devil classes' continuous harassment, might as well go all the way and directly cooperate, choosing to seek refuge from Nantao Academy. Anyway, even if they went back to fight for the magic crystals, eventually it would fall into devil class's hands. Why not voluntarily give up the magic crystals to Nantao Academy, so that Nantao Academy could suppress Profound Academy's prestige? By the time they left the Blazing Flame Lair, the 10 over academies would then jointly plead with Ghost Martial Artist, pushing all the blame onto Yi Qing Luo, and pleading with Ghost Martial Artist to cancel the results of the competition, to use it as a reference for the Academy's annual ranking. Yi Qing Luo and the rest searched one round but didn't find any academy. Qing Luo, have they all gone into hiding? Yan Xiaoyi looked at the quiet surroundings. These students are really smart, knowing that they can't beat them, so they took a detour. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. If we find traces of Nantao Academy, we will probably be able to find the other academy's students. Seeking for backing so quickly? Yan Xiaoyi hugged her head. Then what should we do? Don't tell me we really have to go head-to-head with those few academies. She was extremely confident in Devil Class's students' ability. But the opponents were over 10 academies, and they were all outstanding students from the various academies. The pressure was really huge. Who said we have to go head-to-head? Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes at her. I'm not interested in wasting time and energy. Who knew when they would go head-to-head? Would the dark forces take the opportunity to enter? Then let's find out Nantao Academy's whereabouts first and see how many academies are cooperating with Nantao Academy before making a decision. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand with a casual look. The group of 50 over people scuttled swiftly in the forest. They hadn't discovered anything. The entire sky above the Blazing Flame Lair was surrounded by balls of extremely thick black qi. From the looks of it, it was extremely horrifying. In front of the Profound Light Mirror, Ghost Martial Artist and the few instructors had a panoramic view of everything that happened in the Blazing Flame Lair. Looking at the Profound Light Mirror, the figures of Yi Qing Luo and the others were reflected. The expressions on the faces of the instructors had long since changed from the initial shock to the final one of being used to it. This devil class was always creating surprises and surprises for them all the time. Seeing how Yi Qing Luo dealt with the strange beast, easily subduing the hearts of the various academy's students, they were only left with admiration for Yi Qing Luo. Not only was this girl's strength outstanding, but she was also very quick-witted. The Heavenly Academy was able to accept such a student. He wondered if it was the good fortune he had accumulated in his previous life. The few instructors were clicking their tongues, praising the devil class. Gui Wu's sleeve suddenly moved. The scene within the Profound Light Mirror suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Zoemo walked over and asked. Something has happened. Gui Wu's sinister eyes narrowed, as he fixed his gaze on a spot on the Profound Light Mirror. On the screen, it was Yi Qing Luo leading a group of students, gradually approaching an academy. And not too far away from Yiqing Luo, at a corner. It was a black aura that lingered like smoke. That black aura could only be seen with the naked eye. It made people unhappy. Zhou Mo had also noticed the black qi, and his expression immediately darkened. That thing actually provoked us. I'm afraid the students are in danger. When the few instructors heard that, they had a dazed expression, not knowing what had happened. They looked at each other in dismay. It was rare to see Gui Wu and Zhou Mo's faces sunk. The matter in the blazing flame lair must be extremely serious. Chapter 1594. We can't create panic among the students. Gui Wu's deep cold voice brought along an irresistible pressure. Young Master Mo, let's go in first and investigate the source of that thing before making a decision. Zhou Mo's brows rose. I have the same intention. Gui Wu took a deep look at the profound light mirror, at that glaring black qi. Suddenly he fished out a space bag from his bosom and drew some profound light mirror qi. Pay attention to the movement of the black qi at all times. If you discover any strange movement or attack the students, immediately inform me through the profound light mirror. Gui Wu looked solemnly at the four instructors. The instructors tensed up as they stood upright. Yes. Gui Wu and Zhou Mo exchanged glances and didn't waste any more time. In a split second, the two of them turned into a black and white afterimage, disappearing in front of the instructor's eyes. Yiqing Luo and the rest finally caught a lone student in the academy. 10 over of them sharpened their blades and prepared to attack. But Yiqing Luo suddenly raised her palm and made a pause gesture. Devil Class's students had long formed the habit of obeying orders. The moment she raised her palm, 50 over students hid themselves properly and stopped their attacks. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she glanced sideways. Her slightly knitted brows gradually twisted into a bundle. This was the feeling of profound yin qi? Ever since the profound heart jade returned to her body, Yiqing Luo's sensitivity towards profound yin qi was getting sharper and sharper. If she didn't sense wrongly, she seemed to have sensed the profound yin qi's presence earlier. It was people from the dark forces. Had the dark forces made their move? Yiqing Luo vigilantly released her own perception and spoke out in the mercenary group badge. Everyone be careful. Release your strongest perception and try your best to avoid danger. Devil Class's students reflexively acted according to Yiqing Luo's command. Qing Luo, what happened? Yan Xiaoyi's expression turned grave as she carefully stuck to Yiqing Luo's side, looking around vigilantly. There's profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo clenched her fists. All of you must be careful. If you're controlled by the profound yin qi, you know the consequences. Recalling the last time, Long Yunzhan was controlled by the profound yin qi. He actually made a move on Yiqing Luo and stabbed Yan Xiaoyi. The Devil Class students felt their hairs stand on end. Everyone shivered and expressed their determination in the metal. Don't worry, my lord. We will definitely stand strong. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. We'll talk about it after you've done it. After warning the students of the Devil Class, Yiqing Luo then focused her attention on her perception. She could clearly sense that there was an extremely dense aura of mysterious yin qi in the vicinity. However, no matter how hard she tried, however, earlier when they were beside the strange beasts, Yiqing Luo didn't sense any profound yin qi from Jitsong Tian. At this moment, close contact, Yiqing Luo had not sensed any profound yin qi from Jitsong Tian. What a coincidence! Of course it was a coincidence. If it wasn't a coincidence, how could I have caught you killing the students of the Wind Vane Academy and exposed the true face of a vicious woman like you? Ji Tsongtian puffed out his chest, trying his best to make himself look even more awe-inspiring. Behind her, the 140-plus students of the Celestial Phoenix Academy immediately raised their arms and shouted in unison, "Expose the true face of this vicious woman! I'll expose the true face of this vicious woman!" Their voices were extremely loud and clear in unison. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. These people were apparently trying to lure the students from the other academies over. Chapter 1600. No. Impossible. A clear and melodious female voice suddenly rang out. Following that, a petite figure emerged from the 300 over students and ran towards Yiqing Luo. Little she. Yiqing Luo saw the little girl who had pounced into her arms, and her lips unconsciously curled into a smile. The current Yiqing Luo was no longer cold and aloof? Coincidentally, among the 3 academies who had rushed over, one of them was the Universe Academy which Yiqing Luo had saved by the riverside. Sister Qing Luo will not kill people for magic crystals. Sister Qing Luo respects life the most. She stared furiously at Ji Tsongtian. Her intuition told her. This man named Ji Tsongtian was definitely not an upright person. Ji Tsongtian's expression sunk slightly. He had asked Celestial Phoenix Academy students to create a huge commotion. It was to completely seal off Yiqing Luo's escape route. He had not expected that he had attracted Devil Class's helper instead? What academy student? When did he have such a good relationship with Yiqing Luo? Ji Tsongtian sized up Shi's uniform. Immediately following that, a tall figure blocked Ji Tsongtian's line of sight. Yu stood upright as he stood in front of Ji Tsongtian. Student Ji Tsongtian, everything must be based on evidence. If you don't have any evidence, then don't keep on slandering Heavenly Academy and slandering Devil Class. Immediately following that, 70 over students walked out from the group and followed Yu as they stood on Yiqing Luo's side. Good. Good. Universe Academy. Since you want to be Heavenly Academy's helper, then the Wind Vane Academy's student's death is definitely related to you. The both of you are in cahoots. Ji Tsongtian was ignored by Universe Academy's students as his anger surged. In the past, when Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was still around, whoever saw him, wouldn't they address him respectfully as Group Leader Ji? But now, a small third-tier academy also dared to look down on him. Ji Tsongtian's eyes were filled with viciousness as he turned his head and called out to his brothers, "Find me Gue Wu. Let Gue Wu handle this matter." Student Ji. Zi Qianshan's heart trembled as he immediately spoke out, trying to persuade Ji Tsongtian. Before she could speak, she heard a flirtatious voice interrupting her. "Brother Tsongtian is right. The students of the Wind Vane Academy died in the blazing flame lair. Whether it was the doing of the Devil Class or not, once we find Master Gue Wu, everything will naturally be clear." Lan Ling Nua walked out flirtatiously as her petite body covered Ji Tsongtian's body. Lan Ling Nua hadn't dressed up during the past few days in the flame lair. She hadn't dared to appear in front of her classmates. But today, seeing Zi Qianshan pestering Ji Tsongtian non-stop, and even acting coquettishly towards Ji Tsongtian several times, Lan Ling Nua could no longer endure it. She was the #1 beauty of the Eastern continent. She was the princess of the East continent. Even if she didn't like Ji Tsongtian. But Ji Tsongtian was already her man. She would never allow any woman to snatch her man away. Sister Nua. The minute Ji Tsongtian saw Lan Ling Nua, his expression instantly turned gentle. He stretched out his long arm and pulled Lan Ling Nua into his embrace. "Aren't you feeling unwell? Why don't you rest more? Such a huge matter has happened, How can I rest in peace? Lan Ling Nua used a gentle tone to reply. Feeling the concern from Sister Nua, Ji Tsong Tian's heart instantly felt a warm current brushing past. He tightened his arms as he laughed softly. All right, Brother Tsong Tian will settle this matter immediately, so that my sister Nua can rest in peace. Lan Ling Nua pouted coquettishly as she looked at Ji Tsong Tian shyly. Chapter 1601. As Lan Ling Nua said that, she didn't forget to throw a provocative gaze towards Zi Qianshan. Don't you know whose man he is and dare to snatch him away? Who do you think you are? Zi Qianshan's face instantly turned pale, and immediately following that, it turned steely green and then black. That exquisite face revealed a twisted, malevolent look. Zi Qianshan's fingers locked onto Su Xiaoyan's wrist as she suppressed the anger in her heart. Goddess Qianshan, you must bear with it. Don't bother about what that coquettish fox wants to do, as long as we drag the time and lure all the students here. Our mission will be completed. Su Xiaoyan comforted her softly. Just a little while more and we will be able to watch Yiqing Luo die in pain. Just bear with it for a little while more. Zi Qianshan took a deep breath. What kind of person did that coquettish fox treat her, Zi Qianshan, as? A man like Ji Tsong Tian, who had no ambition, no ability, was fit to enter her eyes? A man who could make her, Zi Qianshan, take a fancy to. Other than Nangong Firen, there was no one else. But Zi Qianshan had just calmed herself down in her heart. She saw Ji Tsong Tian sending someone to look for Gui Wu under Lan Ling Nua's persuasion. How could Zi Qianshan allow her plan to fail at the last moment? She could only head up and block Ji Tsong Tian. Student Ji, Master Gui Wu said before the competition ends, we will absolutely not be able to find Gui Wu and absolutely not be able to leave the blazing nest. Now is a matter of life and death. Any other rules are all fake. Lan Ling Nu pushed Zi Qianshan's body away as she revealed a smile which she thought was peerlessly beautiful. This sister, could it be that just because the person who killed the students is from Heavenly Academy, you want to absolve Heavenly Academy? If I wanted to absolve Heavenly Academy, I wouldn't be standing here right now. Zi Qianshan suppressed her anger as she looked coldly at Lan Ling Nua. On the other hand, Student Lan, you kept persuading Student Ji to look for Master Gui Wu. I'm afraid you've received some benefits from other academies and intentionally want Celestial Phoenix Academy to break the competition's rules to be eliminated? You're talking rubbish. I wholeheartedly care for Big Brother Tsong Tian. How could I possibly cause Celestial Phoenix Academy to be eliminated? Lan Ling Nua's face instantly flushed red as she held on to Ji Tsong Tian's arm. Brother Tsong Tian, look at her. Student Z. Ji Tsong Tian grumbled as he stared at Zi Qianshan and immediately turned around to coax Lan Ling Nua. The devil class students who were watching from afar expressed, children fighting for a man, what a great show. If they fought even more fiercely, this show would be even more exciting. Zi Qianshan was stared at by Ji Tsong Tian, causing Zi Qianshan's pride as the #1 beauty to suffer a heavy blow. Her looks and her abilities were clearly above Lan Ling Nua's. Why was Ji Tsong Tian's vision always on Lan Ling Nua? Goddess Qianshan. Su Xiaoyan could feel the rage in Zi Qianshan's heart surging. He was about to open his mouth to persuade Zi Qianshan. However, he heard the sound of messy footsteps coming from all directions. The students of the various academies gathered and walked over. The moment Mo Han Shang saw the situation of the confrontation, he took a look at Ji Tsong Tian and Zi Qianshan. Finally his gaze fell onto the corpses all over the ground. Students died? The various academies' students were all stunned. Some students even specially went over to confirm. After they found out that those students had indeed stopped breathing, their faces were filled with shock and astonishment. Chapter 1602. Yiqing Luo had yet to reply. Su Xiaoyan was the first to reply. Devil class students killed 52 students from Wind Vane Academy in order to snatch the magic crystals. When the students from various academies heard that, they all looked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction in disbelief. Following that, the other academies also heard this sentence. What? Killing people for the magic crystals? Devil class is too arrogant. They even dared to kill people. We must report this matter to Master Gui Wu. This kind of vicious and cruel academy should be expelled from the academy forever. Right. We must report this to Master Gui Wu, to the main courtyard. Heavenly Academy is too much. 1,500 over students were gathered in one hall. Just one sentence from each of them could overturn the entire blazing lair. However, the devil class, which was condemned by the masses, remained silent on the spot. Not a single sound was heard, and there was no expression on their faces. It was like they didn't listen to anyone's words at all. Hey, devil class, what's with your attitude? Did you really think that you can do anything just because you performed well during the training? A few of the academy's students were already extremely dissatisfied with Yi Qing Luo. Especially, there were at least 17 to 18 academies which had their magic crystals stolen by devil class. Now seeing devil class being involved in such a big matter, all of them couldn't wait to step on it a few times to vent the anger in their hearts. One must know that there were only 28 academies who entered the blazing lair for training. There were 17 to 18 academies which had been robbed. The remaining academies, if it wasn't for the fact that they reacted fast enough to seek cooperation from Nantao Academy, they would probably have been robbed by devil class. One devil class, 50 to 60 people. But they had robbed one after another. The maximum number of people was 300, at least 50 academies. Devil class's ability was indeed very strong. But it was different now. Their various academies were all gathered together. 1,000 over students. Why would they be afraid of a 50 to 60 people devil class? Especially when devil class was involved in a murder case. Even here, they had ruthlessly taught a lesson to a bunch of devil class students. By then, they could also say that it was because devil class was disobedient after killing someone and forcefully fought with them, trying to escape. And they were the envoys of justice, stopping devil class. Thinking like this, the various academies' students' gazes towards Yi Qing Luo instantly turned sinister. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly, as her mind kept on spinning rapidly. She didn't have the leisure to pay attention to those insignificant words from the various academies. His mind was filled with strange thoughts. Yi Qing Luo's elbow slightly exerted force as her 5 fingers clasped onto Zi Qianqian's lower jaw. It's you. A voice as calm as still water came out from Yi Qing Luo's mouth. His eyes were ice-cold. Emotionless words. This caused Zi Qianqian's heart to gradually sink into a state of collapse. This was not a question. It was a certainty. Yi Qing Luo had already guessed that all these were because of her. Zi Qianqian was in so much pain that her face turned pale. However, when she thought about the current situation, she could not help but laugh coldly. So what if it's me? Yi Qing Luo, you can no longer escape. All of you will die. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly. Her long and narrow eyes outlined a cold arc. Her 5 fingers tightened again. The lower jawbone was also directly shattered in Yi Qing Luo's palm. Chapter 1604. A miserable shriek rang out from Zi Qianqian's mouth. Yi Qing Luo loosened her fingers. Zi Qianqian fell weakly onto the ground. Su Xiaoyan immediately supported Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian opened his mouth, but couldn't utter a single word. Bright red blood oozed from her mouth. You want to kill someone in front of so many students? You simply have no respect for the law. Su Xiaoyan was so frightened that her entire body trembled. She felt uneasy as she looked at her blood-stained hands. Your debt will be settled by Master Gui Wu and the headquarters. Not only will the 2 of you become the sinners of the Nirvana realm, but your two families will also be destroyed because of your foolish actions today. Yiqing Luo's slender brows furrowed slightly as her clear and charming eyes shot straight towards Zi Qianqian. His powerful aura was so oppressive that Su Xiaolian couldn't even make a sound. Zi Qianqian's fingers trembled as she tightly grasped Su Xiaolian's sleeve. His blood-stained hands looked especially horrifying. All of you must die today. Every single word was like a demon demanding his life. The surrounding students felt their hairs stand on end when they saw Zi Qianqian's ferocious and bloody appearance. Get out of here. Yes, let's go first. This place is too strange. After coming to their senses, the leaders of the various academies immediately called out to their students and spread out in all directions. They could stand in the fire nest. This also meant that they were elite students handpicked by the various academies. Not only was he talented, he was also not stupid. After Yiqing Luo's reminder and looking at Zi Qianqian's attitude, soon he understood. This was a trap. It's useless. We can't get out of here. Yiqing Luo looked at the students who were escaping in all directions as her eyes were covered with a chilly intent. She had always been vigilant and calculative. However, he didn't expect that the dark faction would use Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian, these two cripples, to set up a forbidden spell formation here. Furthermore, he had lured all of the students here. Dark forces, he was prepared to make his move. How would these students be able to leave this place? As expected, the students who had scattered and left one after another retreated step by step. One by one, they returned to their original positions. He forced the students of the academy to retreat step by step. They were rows of black-robed figures. Their imposing manner was like that of evil spirits that had come from hell. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she sized up the surrounding dark forces which were pressing over. As expected, it was just as the mutated beast had said. There were about 400 people in the Dark Coalition. Meanwhile, the dark forces had infiltrated the Nirvana realm once again, attracting the attention of the major sects and clans, and they worked together to deal with the dark forces. What's more, Yiqing Luo and the Imperial Palace's DMO Xian's relationship was not shallow. Recently, the Imperial Palace had been fighting with the dark forces several times. A series of conjectures appeared in his mind, and Linkong increasingly felt that the dark forces were targeting Yiqing Luo. If they were here for Yiqing Luo, then they just had to hand Yiqing Luo over. Wouldn't that solve the problem? Linkong, dispel your thoughts. Mo Han Shang could tell what Linkong was thinking with a single glance. He calmly lifted his eyelids. If the dark forces were here for Qing Luo, they wouldn't have made such a big fuss. What do you mean? Linkong frowned. Chapter 1606. Barrier? Linkong cried out in surprise. No wonder. They couldn't leave this place no matter what. It turned out that the way was blocked by a barrier. The barrier was clearly set up by the dark forces. From what Qing Luo said to Zi Qianqian earlier, if I didn't guess wrongly, I'm afraid this dark force was attracted over by Zi Qianqian. This barrier was able to be conjured under the eyes of Gui Wu and the other elders, and it was all because of Zi Qianqian's help. Mo Han Shang's analysis made Linkong's expression suddenly turn gloomy. A pair of sharp eyes glared fiercely at Zi Qianqian, who was leaning against Su Xiaolian in a sorry state and covered in blood. I've heard that the dark forces have always been enticing profound practitioners to sign soul contracts with them. Mo Han Shang's gaze was solemn, which also represents that the forces of darkness require the souls of profound practitioners, and this time, the forces of darkness have trapped us within this barrier, so I'm afraid it's because they want to take away our souls. Take away our souls? Linkong's expression turned ugly. Are we all going to die here? Not necessarily. Emo Han Shang suddenly raised his eyes as his gaze went past Enai Linkong, looking straight at a certain spot behind him. Cooperate with Qing Luo, and drag on till Master Ge Wu breaks the barrier and rushes over to save us. Devil classes Yi Qing Luo? Enai Linkong's brows creased. Why are you so close to that bunch of people from Devil class? We had just agreed to cooperate with various academies and now we're cooperating with Yi Qing Luo. When your life is at stake, the most important thing is to stay alive, isn't it? Emo Han Shang smiled as he patted Enai Linkong's shoulder lightly. For the sake of the overall situation, believe in Qing Luo. Enai Linkong and Emo Han Shang had been good friends for many years. Enai Linkong knew his brother's character very well. He was someone who could make the young master of the Mercenary Association, who was used to seeing outstanding profound practitioners, look at him in a different light. There must be something special about her. With this thought in mind, Enai Linkong clenched his fist. All right, I'll believe you this time. Saying that, Enai Linkong pushed aside those students behind him and walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The enemy was right in front of them. Both sides' auras clashed, but no one dared to act rashly. As for the academies, they had placed all their hopes on the Nantao Academy. Seeing this, the boss of Nantao College moved. The gazes of all the students also followed closely. Following that, she saw Enai Linkong standing in front of Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she sized up the imposing young man in front of her. Student Yi Qing Luo, those people dressed in black robes, are the Dark Forces dark agents, right? Enai Linkong didn't beat around the bush as he spoke out directly. Dark Forces? The crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. The whispers of fear and clamor grew louder. When the Dark Forces heard Enai Linkong's question, they sneered disapprovingly. They had no intention of deliberately concealing their identities. Even if they knew that they were Dark Ones from the Dark Forces, so what? In the end, these students would still be buried here. Oh? So Boss Enai also knows about the Dark Forces. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as though she was in deep thoughts. What you said is right. Their bodies are all emitting the Dark Forces' dark aura. As for Enai Linkong's goal, Yi Qing Luo could more or less guess what was going on. Chapter 1607. Yi Qing Luo glanced behind him with a smile which didn't look like a smile, as though she was hesitating and wanted to speak out. If Nantao Academy were to cooperate with me now, wouldn't we be letting down the other academy's good intentions? What she guessed earlier was indeed right. They had plundered the various academies' magic crystals. Those academies had indeed gone over to Nantao Academy. Now this scenario was a little awkward. A few academies had gone over to Nantao Academy to seek cooperation, seeking to get rid of Heavenly Academy, in order to take revenge for their stolen magic crystals. Now, Nantao Academy's big boss had initiated cooperation with Heavenly Academy's Yi Qing Luo. Those few big bosses who had gone over to Nantao Academy had a colorful expression on their faces. Enai Linkong was stunned as he turned back to look at those few big bosses and opened his mouth, wanting to explain something. A slender hand was placed on his shoulder. Emo Han Shang walked up slowly as he stared at Yi Qing Luo with some reproach. Qing Luo, stop making fun of him. Soon after, Emo Han Shang's expression was calm as he looked at the few big bosses of the academy. It's just as what all the students are thinking. These people are all from the Dark Forces. Moreover, they want to take away all of our lives as well as our souls. Under the current situation, we must unite. Only by surviving can we continue to fight for the Academy's competition, isn't that so? Those few big bosses' expressions started to congeal. If these people were from the Dark Forces, if they wanted to escape from the Dark Forces, then they must rely on themselves. What Emo Han Shang said was very right. Only by surviving would they have the capital to fight. If they lost their lives, what was the point of them seeking refuge to Nantao Academy to go against Heavenly Academy? Right. Only by surviving can we continue to fight for the Academy. Now isn't the time for personal grudges, the other party is from the dark forces. I heard that the dark forces are a bunch of devils who kill without batting an eyelid. Their methods are cruel and extremely bloody. Unite! Unite! The few Academy students raised their arms and cheered loudly at this instance. It immediately ignited all the students' fighting spirit. Those few academies happened to be the academies which Yiqing Luo had saved by the stream. Yiqing Luo looked at the surrounding students' morale, which was obviously ignited. But this kind of passion didn't last for too long. All of you, shut up! A sharp, furious voice came from the Dark Coalition. The Dark Ones slowly dispersed, revealing a small path. One of them was wearing a long black robe. Her figure was curvy under the black robe. Yiqing Qian? When Yiqing Luo saw that person, her slender brows rose slightly into an arc. She had actually come in person. Then, that wolf Saint Law, who doted on her to the bone, had also come? Yiqing Qian didn't use the black robe to cover her face as she exposed her face in front of everyone's eyes. Her exquisite eyebrows had now become even more alluring and alluring. Just like a real fox, the students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 were stunned on the spot. Yiqing Qian? You are Yiqing Qian. Someone recognized Yiqing Qian's face. They couldn't believe it. That fickle Yiqing Qian, who had become a laughingstock in Three Springs City, had actually become a member of the Dark Forces. Moreover, looking at Yiqing Qian's expression, clearly, his position in the dark world was not low. Whoosh! There was a piercing sound. Yiqing Qian's gaze suddenly turned sharp. Chapter 1608. Ah! That Intermediate Profound Class 2 student only felt a cold glint flashing past her face. That cold glint revealed an extremely dense murderous aura. She retreated backwards in horror. But how could her speed match up to the current Yiqing Qian? That burst of profound chi was like a hot knife through butter, directly pressing towards the Intermediate Profound Class 2 student's face. Bam! Just when the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students thought that they were dead meat. But they didn't feel the pain that they had imagined. She quietly opened her eyes. The first thing that entered his eyes was a feather fan that was gorgeous like a fiery glow. The stars and fire were flickering, beautiful beyond compare. Glower Flame Fan. This was Yiqing Luo's Glower Flame Fan. The Intermediate Profound Class 2 students were ecstatic as they looked towards the direction of the feather fan. Sure enough, they saw Yiqing Luo standing by her side, using the Glower Flame Fan to block Yiqing Qian's attack. Madam Qing Luo, thank you. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways. Stand aside. The female student had just saved her life. Naturally, she didn't dare to disobey, as she trembled and returned to her companions. At this moment, the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students looked at Yiqing Qian with shock and astonishment, and also hatred and disgust. Who could have expected that Yiqing Qian, who had a bad reputation, would use such a method to once again appear in front of everyone? From today onwards, please call me Guardian Hu. Yiqing Qian's curved brows, when she spoke, her voice rose, revealing a trace of amorous feelings. If anyone calls this guardian's name wrongly, the next move is not something that Yiqing Luo can block even if she wants to. None of the students dared to open their mouth. Yiqing Luo swayed the Glower Flame Fan. Her footsteps were light as she passed through the crowd and walked towards Yiqing Qian. The students, because of Yiqing Luo's actions, they all sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Everyone's gazes were fixed on Yiqing Luo. That figure, petite and lovely. But it revealed a sense of oppression that couldn't be ignored, slender but proud. You. What do you want to do? Yiqing Qian saw Yiqing Luo walking towards her. Her fear towards Yiqing Luo made her unable to restrain her pale face as she trembled slightly. The scenes of the past. It appeared in front of Yiqing Qian. The humiliation that Yiqing Luo had brought to her. She would never forget it. Hatred and anger surged from Yiqing Qian's heart. There were circles of mysterious yin-chi lingering in those amorous eyes. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes and stared at the circle of black chi in Yiqing Qian's eyes as she smiled calmly. Eldest sister really has true love for the Wolf Saint technique. In order to be together with the Wolf Saint technique, you can even abandon the Yi family and Three Springs sect. If old ancestor were to find out about this, I wonder if he would fulfill eldest sister's wish to leave the Yi family's genealogy. Yiqing Luo's words pointed out Yiqing Qian's current situation. Wolf Saint technique? It was obviously a certain boss of the underground forces? In other words, Yiqing Qian really couldn't change her fickle character. Even after arriving at the underground forces, she still resorted to all sorts of methods to seduce men. That was how she managed to achieve such a position in the underground forces? Instead of worrying about this protector, why don't you worry more about yourselves? Yiqing Qian gave a cold harumph as her eyes turned chilly. When the array is combined into one, all of you will. She suddenly lowered her voice as she leaned close to Yiqing Luo's ear and spat out a word with a sneer. Die. Silence. A deathly silence. The entire fire lair fell into silence. Chapter 1609. When she heard the last three words, Yiqing Qian's face suddenly turned pale. That voice was clear and ethereal, as though a voice from hell, using an extremely gentle voice, bringing her along to hell. You! Yiqing Qian's heart thumped as she was so frightened that she retreated several steps back. After being supported by the few black-robed men, Yiqing Qian still had some lingering fears. Sinister and vicious eyes stared intently at Yiqing Luo, who was pressing on. But she saw Yiqing Luo's lips curling into a smile. Her eyes were calm. That smile, which didn't look like a smile, was gazing at her, as though it was bottomless. As though there was a whirlpool, which was pulling her into that whirlpool. Yiqing Qian quivered as her fingers clenched into a fist as her expression turned vigilant. Yiqing Luo, I'd like to see what other great abilities you have. Even if Yiqing Luo had wings now, she would absolutely not be able to escape from this place. Setting up an enchantment and a forbidden spell array. Yiqing Luo would definitely die today. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she waved her feather fan and turned back to Devil Class's side. Long Yunzhan and the rest immediately went up to her. Are you all right? I'm fine. Yiqing Luo saw everyone's worried gazes as she shook her head. This time the dark forces obviously came prepared. Looks like King of Darkness's requirement towards us young and clean cultivators' souls is increasing. This also meant that King of Darkness's seal was about to be lifted. So, these students' souls, we must protect them. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her voice turned chilly. Earlier Yiqing Qian mentioned combining the arrays. Is it this forbidden spell array and the array which absorbs our soul power? Enai Ruopan asked softly. Yiqing Luo nodded. It should be like this. The dark ones of the dark forces only surrounded them here. They didn't start a massacre. Which was enough to tell that they had a deeper motive. Yiqing Qian's earlier words about combining the arrays, Yiqing Luo hadn't thought deeply into it. Enai Ruopan instead saw through the clues. She had to admit that the dark forces had really made sufficient preparations this time round. An unbreakable barrier. A forbidden spell array which could continuously provide the dark forces energy. Coupled with a forbidden spell array which could absorb souls. When these two arrays were completely combined, these 1,000 over students were totally meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Qing Luo, you've crossed hands with the dark forces before and you have such a stunning performance in this aspect. How should we leave this ghastly place now? Mo Han Shang also heard their discussion as he opened his mouth to ask with a grave expression. Yiqing Luo looked at the various academies' bosses, and they had all automatically gathered around Devil Class's surroundings. Upon hearing Mo Han Shang's question, they all started to speak. Once they heard Mo Han Shang's question, all started. However, they understood that once the formation was united, they would all die here. The reason why the dark forces are so powerful is because they have forbidden spells or secret techniques that our Nirvana realm can't use. Yi Qing Luo explained. But this kind of forbidden curse or secret art usage belongs to the act of going against heaven's will, destroying the laws of this heaven way. The person who casts the curse will also suffer the punishment of heaven way. Mo Han Shang's eyes lit up. Your meaning is, as long as we find the person who cast the curse, we can destroy the array? Chapter 16:10. Although that elder's battle power is lacking, his spirit power is extremely strong. Furthermore, he knows a lot of curse techniques and secret technique. Because of that, the Darkness Protector will definitely protect that elder very well. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept past the surrounding academy's bosses. Mo Han Shang was the first to react. I understand. We have to pay attention to where the Dharma protectors are the most concentrated. That's where the elders who cast the curse are hiding. That's right. Yi Qing Luo gave Mo Han Shang an admiring look. This kid's reaction was godly. What should we do? And I Linkong's brows creased as he looked at Mo Han Shang, who was looking at Yi Qing Luo with a look of worship, as his expression was slightly impatient. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as she gave a light smile. If you're willing to listen to my instructions, perhaps we might have a chance to destroy the array. The academy bosses' faces darkened as they looked at each other for a long time. Towards Yi Qing Luo, all the academies were unable to wholeheartedly trust him. Although the devil class had been performing exceptionally well and outstandingly in the special training recently. However, Yi Qing Luo's reputation as the useless seventh Missy had already spread all over the country. A person who had been called trash for more than a decade. It was just a few days of dazzling performance. It really wasn't enough to wash away everyone's perception. Amidst this strange silence, Qian Kuan Academy's eldest brother Shiro Yu replied in a deep voice, My Qian Kuan Academy will listen to student Yi Qing Luo's instructions. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a faint smile. After a few breaths' time, another student spoke up. I, Lu Mo Yuan, represent the King College and listen to Yi Qing Luo's instructions. Following that, the leaders of the academies expressed their opinions one after another. These academies were mostly the academies which were saved by Yi Qing Luo earlier at the riverside. The remaining dozen academies still had some resistance and hesitation in their hearts. After all, this Yi Qing Luo had led Devil Class to snatch their magic crystals not too long ago. Now they had to obey Yi Qing Luo. It was really difficult to choose. I don't agree. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out. She saw Ji Tsong Tian arrogantly raising his head. Yi Qing Luo, you slut, how dare you deploy my Celestial Phoenix Academy students? The dark forces have appeared here because of you. Ji Tsong Tian's words made the entire space sink into a deathly silence. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose slightly as her gaze met Ji Tsong Tian's eyes. Her pink lips curled up slightly, a smile lingering at the corner of her mouth. Once again, she had guessed correctly. This Ji Tsong Tian was indeed involved with the dark forces. However, this Ji Tsong Tian wasn't tainted by the profound Yin Qi. Chapter 16:14. Bam Bam Bam! Bam Bam Bam! While the students from various academies were shocked at how light they were as feathers, they heard the sound of a heavy object falling onto the ground. The students looked towards the source of the sound. Then they saw Devil Class's group of perverts undoing a strap on their wrists, undoing the straps on their waists and legs. That strap landed on the ground. It was even louder than the soft armors. Wasn't this a weight belt? This group of perverts. Not only were they wearing the specially made soft armors by ghost martial artists, their forelimbs were also tied with weight belts? Did they need to be so perverted? The students from various academies were so shocked that their hearts were trembling. Some students didn't believe it. They specially went up to pick up the weight belt. But that weight pressed that student's veins were popping out, before he could barely lift it up. A loud dong sound was heard. The student really couldn't lift it up properly, as the weight belt in his hands fell onto the ground. In the students' minds there were only 3 words existing: true, change, abnormal. What are you all still standing there for? Waiting for death? Yiqing Luo's cold voice rang sharply. The students from various academies heard a buzzing sound in their ears. Their consciousness suddenly became clear, only to see in front of them the dark ones covering the sky and earth, attacking in group. The students cried out in shock. They had not regained their senses in time. Just as the students were trying to avoid the dark one's attack, suddenly a red glow appeared in front of them, as swift as thunder, as fast as lightning, as though it was weaving an impenetrable large net in front of the students. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The Dark One's attack fell into that large net. In a split second, profound light surged. That large net was imposing, filled with murderous intent. The Dark Ones who were the first to rush up. At the moment when that profound chi struck, they were sent flying. This strike gave those students a chance to avoid the danger. The students' figures immediately evaded, as they looked towards the front. They were all astonished. They simply couldn't believe their own eyes. They saw that slender and elegant figure, wielding the glower flame fan, gently sweeping it. That large net which blocked the Dark One's attack, at this moment, suddenly dispersed. They transformed into strands of sharp profound energy that directly sealed off the attacks of the Dark Ones. Just now it was Yiqing Luo who saved them. It was Yiqing Luo's attack which gave them a chance to catch a breather. Then all the students saw the woman whom they had never been able to truly trust, the woman whom they were unwilling to submit to. He walked among the hundreds of Dark Ones with extreme ease, the devouring flame fan in her hand. It was like the sharpest blade in the world. Wherever it went, blood spurted out. One by one, the Dark Ones fell to the ground. Yiqing Luo's actions were still continuing. Her footwork was so strange that the Dark Ones could not touch her at all. Wherever the glowing flame fan waved, the Dark Ones could not dodge at all. 10 corpses of the Dark Ones fell to the ground, 20 Dark One corpses fell to the ground, 30 Dark One corpses fell to the ground, 40. This was Yiqing Luo's real ability? As expected of the people supported by those perverts. There's no such thing as the most perverted, only more perverted. Those 1,500 over-students finally understood why Yiqing Luo only asked them to split into groups to harass the dark forces. Like Yiqing Luo's ability, she alone could take down these hundreds of dark forces people. This Yiqing Luo. Absolutely not just Earth Profound Realm cultivators. Chapter 16:15. That majestic grandeur. That aura which was above the 9 heavens. How could ordinary cultivators possibly possess it? The various academy students were filled with a surge of confidence. At this moment, no one had any complaints as they started to resist against the attacking positions which Yiqing Luo had set. Whereas at this moment, Yiqing Luo, who was wandering among the Dark Ones, saw that everyone had already made their move. His figure flashed and disappeared into the shadows of the students. Ants could swallow an elephant. Although this group of students' abilities were not comparable to the dark forces. But according to her instructions, they suppressed the number of people. This would be able to delay the Dark Ones for some time and ensure that those students would not get hurt. This batch of Dark Ones was as she had expected. As compared to the Dark Ones whom she had met previously, their abilities were much more powerful. This batch should be those who were about to become protectors, but were still 1 or 2 steps away from becoming protectors. She had circled the area just now. It looked so effortless. In actual fact, only she knew how strenuous it was. At this critical juncture, she had to bring out a convincing ability, using her own ability to conquer the various academies' students. Otherwise, those academies who were unresigned, once they threw a little tantrum, today they would definitely die in the hands of the dark forces. Yiqing Luo was in the middle as she spoke in a low voice. Shadow, immediately search for the position of the array core. I've already arranged for a helper to help you in secret. The other brothers, search for the person who cast the curse. Devil class's students split up. Yiqing Luo's sharp vision focused on the direction of the Dark Ones. There were 300 over people who charged forward to attack. There were still 100 over people standing behind Yiqing Qian. As though they were watching a show. Those 100 over Dark Ones were not standing in an orderly manner. Instead, they were scattered here and there. The more it was like this, the more certain Yiqing Luo was. The elder who cast the curse was definitely near those Dark Ones. The moment when Yiqing Luo's figure disappeared, Yiqing Qian acutely sensed it. Her vision had been following Yiqing Luo closely, just in case anything happened. On Yiqing Luo's body, she had already seen too many accidents. Yiqing Luo's luck was simply too heaven-defying. Yiqing Qian no longer dared to bet on this 1 in 10,000 chance of Yiqing Luo turning the tables. Yiqing Qian was on high alert as she suppressed her voice and warned the dark man beside her, "Stay alert and sense the surroundings. Hey, my big sister, where's your vigilance?" Just as Yiqing Qian's words landed, a sweet laughter entered Yiqing Qian's ears. This voice was like a huge bell, falling heavily into Yiqing Qian's ears. Yiqing Qian turned her head around in shock. She saw Yiqing Luo's repulsive face appearing right in front of her eyes. Yiqing Luo! Yiqing Qian bellowed in rage, as she turned her hand to attack Yiqing Luo's direction. But Yiqing Luo agilely evaded, and raised her leg to kick Yiqing Qian. Yiqing Qian's body flew backward. She followed closely and stepped on Yiqing Qian's chest with 1 foot. You are despicable! Yiqing Qian knew that Yiqing Luo's speed was fast. But they had not expected Yiqing Luo's speed to be so fast that they didn't even have a chance to breathe. Yiqing Qian spat out a mouthful of blood as her face turned pale and she almost crushed her gums. "I'm just catching them off guard." Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she increased the strength on her leg. She moved swiftly among the few hundred Dark Ones and killed close to 50 of them. What she relied on was catching them off guard, and to hit Yiqing Qian. It really couldn't be said to be catching them off guard. It could only be said. Chapter 16:16. She thought that she was well prepared. She thought that no matter how much ability Yiqing Luo had, there was absolutely no way to escape from the array. She thought that she would be able to see with her own eyes those who had mocked and insulted her go to hell. She thought. But all of them thought. But they had neglected Yiqing Luo's current ability. Earth Profound grade and above ability. The difference of a single grade was like the distance between heaven and earth. Not to mention that she had already stepped into the Sky Profound grade, and was known as the Sky Profound Overlord. Dealing with Yiqing Qian was simply too easy. But this indeed couldn't be said that Yiqing Qian had no brains. After all, who would have thought that? Yiqing Luo was merely in the Earth Profound grade 4th grade before she entered the Blazing Flame lair. In a short span of 5 days, she became a Sky Profound Overlord. Looking at the entire Nirvana realm. No one has been able to do that. You. Yiqing Qian realized this as her eyes suddenly widened. To be able to move freely among the 300 over dark men. To be able to kill close to 50 of them alone. To be able to silently avoid the remaining 100 over dark men's senses, get close to her and attack her. Such a powerful force. Such an irresistible force. Yiqing Luo was a Sky Profound Overlord. Other than this reason, Yi Qing Qian couldn't think of a second reason. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as she smiled sweetly. From the corner of her eyes, she saw those dark men rushing up to save Yi Qing Qian. The smile on her lips grew. Her fingertips turned and the glower flame fan was like a dancing flame as it flipped in her palm. Bursts of valiant force could uproot the mountains and rivers. The moment the glower flame fan appeared, it set off layers of waves and everything on the ground had turned into a whirlpool. Those dark men had yet to get close. Under this powerful whirlwind they were sent flying. Yi Qing Qian was the closest. She could clearly feel the terrifying aura surging from Yi Qing Luo. That valiant aura seemed to be able to absorb everything in the world. Yi Qing Qian's heart suddenly stopped. The profound yin qi which was circulating recklessly in her eyes flowed chaotically. The aura of death. She felt it. The aura which was getting closer and closer to her. Seeing the despair in Yi Qing Qian's eyes, a trace of disdain flashed past Yi Qing Luo's eyes. He gave up struggling just like that? Her good elder sister was someone who could grab onto life-saving straws time and time again when she was about to be destroyed. Make use of your advantages and live on tenaciously like weed. How could they give up just like that? How could he be willing to die like this? What was Yi Qing Qian trying to do? Yi Qing Luo's half-squinted eyes were suffused with a glimmer of rippling luster. Retracting her peripheral vision, she leaned forward slightly. That slender body happened to block Yi Qing Qian's line of sight. What are you going to do?" Yi Qing Qian's face turned pale as she looked at Yi Qing Luo who was closing in on her. The courage in her heart turned into fear. Her delicate body was trembling slightly, and her face was pale. No matter how one looked at it, it would make one feel pity for her. Yi Qing Luo chuckled softly, as her charming eyes were flowing with luster, becoming increasingly flirtatious. "Elder sister, since we are going to die in this place, I naturally have to bring you along to hell." Her voice was a little chilly, but there was also a hint of playfulness in it. When Yi Qing Qian heard this, she felt a chill down her spine. Before Yi Qing Qian could react, suddenly she heard a shrill scream coming from not too far away. Following that, numerous black-robed men, like a celestial maiden scattering flowers, flew out in all directions. Chapter 16-17. She suddenly regained her senses. She immediately shouted towards the Dark Ones who were still entangled with the 1,000 over-students. Yi Qing Qian knew that Yi Qing Luo was sinister and cunning. She also knew that Yi Qing Luo was full of tricks. She was on guard. But she had not expected that Yi Qing Luo could instigate the students from various academies to listen to her instructions, and even discovered the secret of the array in the shortest time possible. Yi Qing Qian's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Yi Qing Luo quietly got close to her and attacked her. It was to attract her attention, to attract the attention of those 100 over Dark Ones who had yet to participate in the battle. Yi Qing Luo was pretending to deal with her. It was to create an opportunity for Devil Class's group to find the person who cast the curse. Yi Qing Luo successfully created an opportunity for Devil Class, and also allowed Devil Class to successfully find those elders who were hidden behind the crowd and continuously casting the curse. A total of 10 elders. They lined up in a formation, and beside each elder stood 2 black-robed Dark Ones who were obviously of a higher level. On the black robes there was an eye-catching badge. Devil Class students recognized that it was the symbol of a guardian. The Devil Class students used their fastest speed to kill all the Dark Ones around them. Following that, they went near the elders. Momentarily, the guardians and Devil Class students were entangled in a battle. Yi Qing Qian looked at the disrupted formation in front of her. Looking at the numerous Devil Class students, fiercely attacking the direction of the elders. Her face turned paler and paler. An indescribable restlessness surged in his chest and spread throughout his body. Yi Qing Qian herself didn't notice it. At this moment, circles of black profound qi were constantly surging in her eyes, forming a vortex. This scene, Yiqing Luo saw it clearly. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes, quickly loosened the restraint on Yiqing Qian, and retreated a few steps. Yiqing Luo was very clear. The profound yin qi in Yiqing Qian's body, under her irritable mood, started to stir. Shangguan Liuli had mentioned this before. What the dark forces needed was not only souls and resentment. The same logic could be used. What the dark forces needed was not only resentment and all kinds of negative energy emotions, for example, anger and hatred as well as jealousy. This kind of emotion was the easiest to cause the corrosion of the profound yin qi. After Yiqing Qian joined the dark forces, she accepted the transformation of the profound yin qi. He was also often intimate with the wolf saint technique, whose body contained countless mysterious yin qi. Naturally, it would also absorb the profound yin qi from the wolf saint dharma. Yiqing Luo was the clearest about the consequences of being corroded by the profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo's vision swept past the students who were battling on both sides. The devil class gradually closed in on the 10 elders. The students of the various academies also used their greatest strength to block the hundreds of dark ones. Everyone was working hard to survive. She absolutely could not let Yiqing Qian spoil her plans. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly cold as her vision returned to Yiqing Qian, who was completely covered by the profound yin qi. She flipped her palm and flicked out a pill. That pill had yet to be flicked into Yiqing Qian's mouth. Yiqing Qian had already reflexively raised her palm, striking that pill to the side. Yiqing Luo, this move of yours can deal with those two trash, but to deal with me, it's not that easy. Yiqing Qian retreated several steps back the moment she was released by Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were filled with viciousness, and her eyes were filled with profound yin qi. Chapter 16-18. Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly as she looked at the woman who had turned sinister and terrifying. I want you to die in a comfortable way, but you have to choose this violent way of dying. She shook her head helplessly. After all, you were once my elder sister. As your sister, I can only try my best to satisfy you. Ha ha ha. Don't just talk big. Yiqing Qian's voice was hoarse as her body gradually floated into the air. The current Yiqing Qian was exceptionally terrifying. That wisp of profound yin qi had already seeped out from Yiqing Qian's eyes. The black qi had encircled Yiqing Qian entirely. She opened her arms. The endless profound yin qi from the surroundings gathered towards her. What is that? Monster! Monster! All the students from the various academies looked at Yiqing Qian, who was floating in the sky in terror. One by one, they cried out in terror. And this moment of panic gave the dark agents a chance to attack. Momentarily, the students from the various academies were tangled in a fight and the dark agents broke a gap. The students who were charging at the front were immediately sent flying by the dark agent. Oh no! Oh no! Quickly defend, we can't let them pass. Devil class, be careful, the dark forces are about to pass. The entire scene started to descend into chaos. After the dark agents broke through the students' encirclement, the first thing they did was to rush towards the direction of the devil class. They wanted to prevent the devil class students from getting near the elders. Those elders were the key to completing their mission today. Steady! A loud shout was heard by the students. That voice was sonorous and powerful, firm and full of tension. You only need to take care of the mission that I have given you. Leave the rest to me. That voice had a convincing magical power. It easily soothed the fear and uneasiness in the students' hearts. They saw that young lady dressed in green and white uniform, standing in front of the dark agents in a flash. Facing those dark agents who were swarming over, she didn't show any signs of retreating. Her expression was calm and indifferent. A pair of bewitching eyes flashed with a resolute radiance as she stared ahead. Profound qi surged, intense like fire. The mysterious light that the glowing flame fan shot out was suffused with a devilish red glow. They blotted out the sky and covered the earth as they charged toward the Dark Ones. That Xian Qi was invincible. In everyone's eyes, Yi Qing Luo was like a death god who had descended into the world, enough to make everything around her submit to her power. Under that powerful aura, the Dark Ones felt their chests tighten. Some of the weaker Dark Ones even coughed up a mouthful of blood. The Dark Ones in the front row were sent flying. The Dark Ones immediately gave up on the idea of charging forward. Instead, he tried to break Yi Qing Luo's imposing manner from the side. However, they did not have the time to move a single step. The mystical qi, which was like the void, had already landed on the bodies of the Dark Ones. The entire fiery lair was in a state of intense turmoil. Sky profound supremacy. The Dark Ones could clearly feel that powerful force. The girl in front of him was only 14 or 15 years old. How could it be a sky profound supreme martial artist? As for those students, after hearing the exclamations of the Dark Ones, they were shocked. His eyes were filled with astonishment as he looked at Yi Qing Luo, whose imposing manner had skyrocketed. Sky profound supreme martial artist? Yi Qing Luo was actually a strong sky profound supreme martial artist? Just how deep had she hidden herself? Yi Qing Luo, your opponent is me. Behind her, a sinister voice was heard. Chapter 16-19. Bam! A loud sound. That palm wind which was filled with profound yin qi was blocked by the glower flame fan. Yi Qing Luo flipped over and lifted her leg to kick Yi Qing Qian's abdomen. Yi Qing Qian's body flew out like a broken kite. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes, her icy cold gaze without any emotion. Opponent, you're not qualified. Every word was like a sharp silver needle, piercing into Yi Qing Qian's ears. Anger, at this moment, was like a volcano eruption, exploding in her mind. The black qi in Yi Qing Qian's eyes became thicker and thicker. The profound yin qi which was constantly released, was like vines, closing in on Yi Qing Qian's body. Yi Qing Qian's arrogance continued to rise. Ah! Yi Qing Qian let out a roar. Endless profound yin qi exploded from her body. Damn it! Yi Qing Qian was completely eroded by the profound yin qi. If it was Yi Qing Qian, she had 100% confidence she could torture her. But if it was profound yin qi, and under the condition that the array had not been destroyed, it could continue to absorb the surrounding profound yin qi and keep getting stronger. Perhaps Yi Qing Qian was hesitating. Suddenly, a gust of wind attacked from the right. That profound qi carried the momentum of swallowing mountains and rivers, like a raging wave. Who is it? Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed. The moment that gust of wind attacked, her figure suddenly flashed and disappeared into the air. Immediately, a red feather fan appeared out of thin air, sweeping through the air with a piercing sound. Like a rotating spiral knife, it flew towards the direction of the gust of wind. Ding! The sound of weapons colliding, the glower flame fan's attack was disintegrated. The glower flame fan, which had lost the support of profound qi, instantly fell down from the air. A fair little hand suddenly appeared, and caught that feather fan steadily. Yi Qing Luo did not know when, but she was only 10 steps away from that person who suddenly appeared. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes, and her gaze fell onto that person. Wolf Saint Law, looks like my elder sister is extremely important to you. The person in front of him wasn't anyone else but Yi Qing Qian's female head in the dark forces, Wolf Saint Law. Wolf Saint Technique's malicious eyes stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo. His eyes darkened, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. This Yi Qing Luo, it had only been a month since they last met. He had actually stepped into the profound sky realm. This girl's talent was truly too terrifying. If he allowed her to continue to grow, it would definitely be a huge hindrance to the dark forces. Wolf Saint Technique narrowed his sinister eyes as he looked at Yi Qing Luo's gaze, which was filled with dense murderous intent. Yi Qing Luo naturally sensed that murderous intent. She snorted softly, a hint of mockery appearing in the depths of her eyes. I heard that Wolf Saint Technique's Wolf Saint force has already been completely destroyed, but Wolf Saint Technique still has the heart to come here to save Big Sister. This deep sense of righteousness really moves me. Hearing Yi Qing Luo mention about Wolf Saint's forces which had already been annihilated, the killing intent in Wolf Saint Law's eyes intensified. The Wolf Saint force had cost him many years of blood and sweat. However, they were annihilated by that kid from the Imperial Palace. Moreover, they were completely annihilated. There was no room for him to make a comeback at all. If his lord were to awaken at this moment, if his lord knew about this matter, his life would probably be hard to keep. And the reason why the Imperial Palace annihilated Wolf Saint force, everything was because of this young lady in front of him. She still had the cheek to mention Wolf Saint force? Chapter 1620. Yi Qing Luo. I want you to die. I want you to die. Just at this moment, Yi Qing Qian, who was still absorbing the profound Yin Qi, suddenly let out a deafening roar. The black qi surrounding her was getting thicker and thicker. Her black hair, which was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, floated behind her in a horrifying manner. Wolf Saint Art, who was in the midst of attacking, heard that voice. He abruptly stopped his attack. He looked towards Yi Qing Qian. The moment he sensed Yi Qing Qian being engulfed by the profound Yin Qi, his expression changed. He speedily rushed towards Yi Qing Qian's direction, forcefully pulling the raging Yi Qing Qian into his arms. That profound Yin Qi, when it came into contact with Wolf Saint Art, dissipated. Yi Qing Qian, who was still struggling, went limp and fainted in Wolf Saint Art's arms. Wolf Saint Art's expression was gloomy, as he looked at Yi Qing Luo with a biting cold murderous intent. He opened his mouth and shouted coldly, "Come out!" His voice had just ended when black-robed men appeared one after another. It was the people from the underworld again. Wave after wave, there were at least 130 over of them. The students from various academies, when they saw the medals on those black-robed men, their faces turned pale with fright. These 130 over people from the dark forces. He was not an ordinary dark one, but guardians. 130 over dark guardians, which meant that the battle power of 130 over people, compared to the more than 400 people he saw now, he was much stronger. They were even stronger, and they were not just a little bit stronger. Yi Qing Luo's expression turned cold when she saw these 100 over dark guardians. Wolf Saint Art's forces had already been destroyed. Wolf Saint Art could still order his subordinate. These 100 over guardians, could it be? Indeed, Wolf Saint Art ordered coldly, "Protect the 10 elders. You must stop this group of prey from destroying the array." Yi Qing Luo's expression changed. These 100 over guardians were indeed not Wolf Saint Art's subordinates, but they were here to stop them from destroying the array. If Wolf Saint Art ordered these 100 over dark guardians to kill her, these dark guardians would definitely not take any action. But to stop them from destroying the array, which was equivalent to fighting against her. This holy wolf technique, even though he had lost the upper hand, he still wanted to come here and interfere. They wanted to use this opportunity to offer all of their souls to the King of Darkness, to beg for the King of Darkness's forgiveness? Yi Qing Luo looked coldly at the Wolf Saint technique, which was holding Yi Qing Qian in his arms, looking at her with a sneer. Her charming eyes slightly narrowed. His gaze became increasingly cold. "With me here, let's see how you plan to stop my brother from destroying the formation." Yi Qing Luo's figure stretched out. The gourd flame fan in his hand stirred up waves of Xian Qi. They formed a dense net that sealed off the path of the dark protectors. Immediately following that, Yi Qing Luo stood alone in front of those guardians. The profound qi in his body rose sharply, one after another. "Qing Luo, Long Yunzhan kicked away the dark person in front of him as the blue sparkling long sword in his hand flew towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Then, he flew up and joined the battle against the Dark Guardian. The strength of the two of them suppressed the Dark Guardian till there was no way for him to advance. On the side of Devil Class, they had already settled the Dark Ones and were attacking the Elder who had cast the curse. The Elder immediately threw out a smoke bomb. Following that, they all stood up and tried to escape. But they were stopped by Devil Class's students. They rushed up and slit their necks. Those whose necks were directly broken would be directly broken. Chapter 16:21. Overestimating Yourself. Wolf Saint Dharma snorted coldly as a chilly glint flashed past his eyes. Following that, he raised his palm and struck out with a palm strike. Devil Class students sensed the danger. They could only give up on chasing the remaining 6 elders and evaded. That palm strike seemed to have broken the void, shaking the heaven and earth. After it landed on the ground, it caused the entire flame nest to tremble. The ground, which had already turned into ruins, was like a spider web, with countless cracks densely packed together. A loud boom sound was heard. The ground cracked and gravel flew everywhere. Devil Class students evaded in a disheveled manner, and some even fell into the crack. Luckily Yiqing Luo had taught them that set of footwork, which allowed Devil Class students to avoid the danger. After the surrounding tremors had subsided, Devil Class students stabilized themselves. Those 6 elders had long hidden behind Wolf Saint Dharma. Following that, they sat down cross-legged and continued to cast their spells, activating the 2 formations forbidden spells once again. Devil Class students, go against the Dark Guardians. Yiqing Luo also noticed the movements over there. With the appearance of Wolf Saint Dharma, Devil Class students couldn't even think of getting close to those 6 elders. With the death of 4 elders, the formation's speed had slowed down by half. The person who was guarding the elders was Wolf Saint Dharma. Devil Class students' current ability was not enough to go against Wolf Saint Dharma. Why not use these 130 over Dark Guardians for this bunch of youngsters to practice on? Hearing Yiqing Luo's command, those Devil Class students who had adjusted their formation and were preparing to attack Wolf Saint Dharma almost reflexively moved towards Yiqing Luo's direction. 50 over people attacked those 130 Dark Guardians in an orderly manner. After Yiqing Luo and Long Yunzhan got away, then they all attacked towards Wolf Saint Dharma's direction. This coordination, simply amazing! All the students from various academies were sighing in their hearts. The performance of Devil Class's students had completely refreshed their understanding of Devil Class. The heroic spirit in their hearts was ignited at this moment. One by one, they perked up their spirits and became more serious in dealing with this batch of Dark Guardians. Sky Profound First Grade Cultivator, dare to challenge this Saint Dharma? Wolf Saint Dharma sneered as he squinted his malicious eyes. No matter how fast Yiqing Luo's advancement was, even so, he was no match for him. The wolf sacred beast tightened its grip around the woman in its arms and leaped into the air. The wind from his palm moved like 10,000 layers of wind and waves, directly attacking. Yiqing Luo's expression was calm as she waved her glower flame fan and opened it abruptly, blocking that palm wind. The powerful profound chi transformed into a bewitching red glow, forming a beautiful cold lake in midair. In that instant the air was ignited. A sizzling sound could be heard. Boom! The sound of the collision between the chi and the palm wind shook heaven and earth. Soon after, a greenish-white figure broke through the air from the force. Thousands of strands of hair fluttered on her shoulders. It made her extremely beautiful face look even more enchanting and moving. The gourd flame fan in her hand flickered with one complicated profound light after another. Her red lips curled into a smile. At this moment, everything in the world seemed to have lost all its brilliance. There was only one person in the world that could be seen. Wolf Saint Technique, if you don't try, how would you know the final result? Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly. The moment her words landed, the expression on her face suddenly turned solemn. Her footwork was displayed. She had already overtaken the direction of Wolf Saint technique. Long Yunjian immediately coordinated with Yi Qing Luo's footwork from the other side. Chapter 1622. Wolf Saint Dharma was carrying Yi Qing Qian in his arms. Naturally, he was unable to exert his full strength. Facing Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunjian's encirclement, it was somewhat difficult to deal with. Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunjian's coordination was extremely tacit, totally not giving Wolf Saint Dharma any breathing space. The Dark Ones present, whether it was guardians or elders, were not from his Wolf Saint Dharma's forces. Wolf Saint Dharma was unable to hand the unconscious Yi Qing Qian over to the other guardians. Moreover, based on Yi Qing Luo's cunning character, if Wolf Saint Dharma released Yi Qing Qian, in the next moment Yi Qing Qian would probably become Yi Qing Luo's bargaining chip to threaten Wolf Saint Dharma. Momentarily, the entire blazing flame lair had sunk into a chaotic battle. The stench of blood filled the skies. In the wooden shed, 4 instructors stood in front of the profound light mirror, staring at the image in the mirror. In the mirror, Ghost Doctor's calm voice was heard. "How is it? Have you found any traces of those students?" No. We've searched the entire blazing flame lair, but not a single student is seen." Instructor Rin answered anxiously. "Not only did we use the profound light mirror to search the surroundings of the blazing flame lair, I've also flipped the entire place with those people from the headquarters, but there's no trace of those students." Instructor Li's face was gloomy. The few instructors were all sweating profusely. All of them had an anxious and uneasy expression. "Continue searching," Ghost Doctor said coldly. "Yes." The 4 instructors responded, and immediately assigned another 2 people to follow those people from the headquarters, to continue searching the blazing flame lair. Near the interior of the blazing flame lair, a black and white silhouette were moving forward swiftly. Ah Wu, the students wouldn't disappear for no reason, could it be? Zhou Mo frowned, recalling the black aura he saw on the profound light mirror earlier. His frown grew even deeper. Ghost Marshall's eyes were filled with a cold glint. "Yes, it's an enchantment." "It's indeed an enchantment." Zhou Mo narrowed his long phoenix eyes. "But who can under our eyelids, under the enchantment of those old fellows in the headquarters, can conjure an enchantment that even you can't detect?" This point, no matter how Zhou Mo thought, he couldn't understand. "Dark forces." Gui Wu spat out these 4 words. Zhou Mo's expression congealed slightly. Ever since the news of the dark forces infiltrating into Nirvana realm, because of Yi Qing Luo, everyone knew about it. Following that, the Imperial Palace kept on launching attacks against the dark forces, and even destroyed a Saint Technique powerhouse. After a pause he continued, "I'm afraid the dark forces are desperate. Send the news to the Imperial Palace." Gui Wu pondered for a moment before he suddenly spoke. "Imperial Palace?" Zhou Mo paused. "You mean, as long as that girl is here, Di Zun will definitely come," Gui Wu said in a low voice. Zhou Mo pursed his thin lips and nodded. "If Di Zun comes, the dark forces can indeed deal with them, but can those students hold on until that girl is there?" Gui Wu lightly said. Zhou Mo frowned as he looked at Gui Wu with a somewhat strange gaze. After a while, Zhou Mo came back to his senses. "She's just a little girl with a little luck. Why do you have so much confidence in her?" In his memories, Gui Wu had never trusted a person's strength so much. Even for himself, he was constantly questioning and doubting his own abilities.